He shoved my graduation cake right off the table. Frosting splattered across the patio stones. My 10-year-old nephew looked at the mess, then grinned right at me. "Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rachel." A second of silence, and then the whole table erupted in laughter. My sister, his mother, smiled into her wine glass. My own mother laughed the loudest, a sharp, cruel sound that cut me deeper than any knife. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just set the cake knife down, walked away from their laughter, and got in my car. That night, the text message I'd been waiting for my whole life finally came. It was from my mother. "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever." My sister liked it. They thought they were banishing me. They thought they had all the power. They forgot one tiny detail. I was the cosigner on their house. I was the cosigner on my sister's car. They weren't just my family. They were my dependents. My fingers were perfectly steady as I typed one simple reply: removing my name from every loan tomorrow. By midnight, the panic set in. The group chat flooded. My phone screen lit up with 100 missed calls. They were just beginning to understand. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me, where in the world are you watching from? As the sun went down, the string lights in the backyard glowed brighter. The air got cooler. The barbecue was gone, and people were just sitting around, drinking. The laughter started to change. It got louder and it felt sharper. It wasn't happy laughter. It was the kind of laughter that needs a target. I was trying to stay invisible. I was clearing paper plates, stacking used plastic cups, and pretending I didn't hear them. My mother, Elaine, was holding a glass of white wine. She was telling a story about a neighbor. "And I told her," she said, her voice high, "if you can't control your dog, you shouldn't have one." My sister Brittany laughed. "God, Mom, you really said that?" "Of course I did." They were all sitting at the main patio table. My father, Robert, was at the end staring at the fire pit. He was there, but he was not there. He was never there. I was standing near my cake. It was still in the corner, next to a bowl of melted ice. I picked up the small silver knife, ready to cut it. Maybe if I offered cake, the mood would get better. "Hey, Aunt Rachel," a voice chirped. I turned. It was my nephew, Tyler. He was 10, and he had my sister's eyes. He looked at me with a small, mean smile. "Hey, Tyler, do you want the first piece of cake?" He snorted. "No, cake is for people who celebrate." I stopped. I just looked at him. "It is a celebration, buddy." I graduated. Tyler looked over at his mom, Brittany. She was watching us. Her wine glass paused near her mouth. She gave him a little nod. She was encouraging him. Tyler turned back to me. His voice got louder so everyone at the table could hear. "Aunt Rachel, Mom says you only got your degree so you can brag." The table went quiet. I could hear the ice crackling in someone's drink. I looked at Brittany. She didn't look away. She didn't look sorry. She just raised her eyebrows, a little smile on her face. Then my mother laughed. It was a high, thin sound. "Oh, Tyler," she said, waving her hand. "Don't say that out loud." And just like that, the permission was given. The whole table laughed. It wasn't a small laugh. It was a full, deep, mean laugh. They laughed like he had just told the funniest joke in the world. I felt the blood drain from my face. The knife felt heavy in my hand. Every word he said was a knife of its own. I knew he was just repeating what he had heard. He was a speaker box for my sister's jealousy and my mother's cruelty. "That's not true, Tyler," I said. My voice was quiet. "Yes, it is," he insisted. He was enjoying this. He loved being the center of attention. "Mom said you think you're better than us now. That's why you live in Seattle. You think you're too smart?" "Brittany," I said, looking right at my sister. "Are you going to stop him?" Brittany took a slow sip of her wine. "He's just being a kid, Rachel. He's honest. It's what everyone is thinking." My father said nothing. He just looked into the fire. I felt the cuts from every word. These were not new wounds. These were the same wounds I had been getting my whole life. The wound of being too serious. The wound of being too sensitive. The wound of trying hard only to be told I was bragging. I looked down at the cake. My name was on it. "Congrats, Rachel." I had bought it for myself. I knew they wouldn't. "You do think you're better," Tyler said. He stepped closer. His eyes were bright and mean. And then, he put his hands on the edge of the cheap folding table. He shoved it. It happened fast, but it felt slow. The table tipped. The cake slid. It hung in the air for just a second. Then it fell. It hit the patio stones with a wet, heavy sound. Splat. The white frosting sprayed everywhere. It splattered onto my shoes. It hit the hem of my jeans. The little blue candles scattered into the grass. The "Congrats, Rachel" was just a smear of blue on the dirty stone. Silence. Then Tyler looked at the mess. He looked at my face. He grinned. "Eat it off the ground, Aunt Rachel." The laughter that came back was worse this time. It was harsher. It was wild. My mother threw her head back and laughed. Brittany laughed into her hand. Their friends, people who had known me since I was a child, were laughing. I stood there, covered in my own graduation cake. I looked at my mother. She was wiping a tear of laughter from her eye. She finally looked at me. Her laughter stopped, but her smile stayed. "Oh, come on, Rachel," she said. Her voice was light, like she was bored. "Don't be so sensitive. It's just a cake. Tyler was just being a boy." I looked down at the knife in my hand. I thought about throwing it. I thought about screaming. I thought about crying, but I felt nothing. It wasn't sadness. It was nothing. The part of me that wanted their love, the part that kept trying, had just died. It was gone. I set the knife down on the dirty, frosting-covered table. I was wearing a little blue apron that my mother had insisted I put on. "You're the hostess's helper," she'd said. I reached behind my back. I untied the apron strings. I pulled it off over my head. I folded it once, neatly, and set it down on a chair. Then I turned around. I walked past the laughing table. I walked past my silent father. I walked toward the side gate. "Where are you going?" my mother called out. Her voice wasn't worried. It was annoyed. "Rachel, don't make a scene. We still have guests. The party's over," Brittany called, her voice full of sarcasm. "The graduate is leaving." Their laughter followed me, like a ghost, all the way down the driveway. I got into my car. I put the key in the ignition. I did not cry. I did not wipe the frosting off my shoes. Something inside me hadn't just cracked. It had broken. It was completely, finally broken, and I knew I was never coming back. The drive from Idaho back to Seattle is long. It's about 8 hours. 8 hours of flat brown hills that turn into dark green mountains. I drove through the night. I didn't turn on the radio. I just listened to the sound of my tires on the highway. The hum of the engine was the only sound in the world. My phone was on the passenger seat. It was dark. I had turned it off after I left the party. I didn't want to hear it buzz. I didn't want to read the messages I knew would be there. The whole drive, I just replayed the scene. I saw the cake hit the ground. I heard Tyler's voice. "Eat it off the ground." I heard my mother's laugh. I had spent my whole life trying to be good enough. I got good grades. I didn't get into trouble. I went to college. I got my master's degree. I was the responsible one. I was the stable one. Brittany was the fun one. She was the one who made mistakes. She had Tyler when she was 20. She married a man who left her. She was always in some kind of drama, and they loved her for it. Her drama made them feel needed. My stability just made them feel bored. Every time I achieved something, they treated it like an insult. My success was a light that made them see their own failures. And they hated me for it. I saw it clearly now. It wasn't about me being too sensitive. It was about them being too cruel. I drove through the sunrise. The sky turned from black to purple to a pale, watery gray. By the time I crossed the bridge into Seattle, the city was just waking up. My apartment is small. It's a studio in an old brick building. It's just one room. But it's my room. No one laughs at me here. I walked up the 3 flights of stairs. The frosting on my shoes was dry and cracked. I unlocked my door. I stepped inside. The air was still and quiet. Rain started to tap against my window. A soft, steady Seattle rain. It felt like the city was welcoming me home. I took off my dirty shoes by the door. I put my keys in the little bowl on my desk. I sat on my bed. I sat there for a long time. I just watched the rain streak down the glass. It was washing the dirt off the window. I wished it could wash me clean too. Finally, I picked up my phone. I turned it on. It exploded. A flood of notifications. 22 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Brittany. 34 text messages. I didn't read them all. I just read the last one. It was from my mother. It was in the family group chat. "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever." I stared at the words. "We've chosen." The royal we. It meant her and my father. My father who hadn't said a single word. He just went along. He always just went along to sever all contact. It sounded so formal, like a business letter, like they were firing me from being their daughter, stay away forever. This was the punishment. They thought I couldn't live without them. They thought I would panic. They thought I would beg. They thought I would apologize for the scene I had made. I looked at the message, and then I saw it. Underneath the text, there was a small red heart. Brittany had liked the message. That one red heart hit me harder than the cake. It was so simple, so final. It was my sister celebrating. She had won. She had finally gotten me out of the family. She was the only daughter now. I stared at the screen. I waited for the tears. I waited for the pain, the big screaming hole in my chest, but it didn't come. I felt nothing. Just a deep, cold, quiet stillness. The kind of stillness you feel when a bad storm has finally passed, and you are left in the wreckage. They thought they were punishing me. They didn't realize they were setting me free. I looked at my mother's words one more time. Stay away forever. Then something inside me spoke. It was a very quiet voice, but it was clearer than the rain. It said one word. Enough. I was done. I was finally, completely done. I stood up and walked to my desk. I opened my laptop. The screen lit up, showing a picture of Lake Union. I didn't cry. The time for crying was over. The stillness from the text message was still there, but now something else was mixing with it. It was a cold, clear feeling. It was anger, but it wasn't the kind of anger that makes you scream. It was the kind that makes you see things clearly. I opened my budget spreadsheet. I am very organized with my money. I have to be. I live in an expensive city. I have my own student loans. I have rent. I have car insurance. My spreadsheet has all of it. Rent, utilities, groceries, savings, and then there were two other lines. 2 payments that I made every single month. Parents' mortgage assist, $400 Brittany's SUV, 640i stared at the numbers. 3 years ago, my parents were going to lose their house. My dad's hours at the plant were cut. They said they just needed a little help. Rachel, you're the only one we can ask, my mother had cried on the phone. You're the stable one. You have that good tech job. I had just gotten that job. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was proud. It's just to get us over the hump, honey, she'd said. It's just a signature. Family helps family. So I co-signed. I didn't just help. I co-signed. I was legally on the hook. And for 3 years, I had been paying $400 every month. The hump never ended. Then Brittany. Her old car died. She needed a safe car for Tyler. That's what she said. You want your nephew to be safe, don't you, Rachel? My mother had asked. So I went with her to the dealership. She picked out a huge new SUV. It was black and shiny and had a sunroof. She had no credit. The bank laughed at her. Please, Rachel, she'd whispered to me. I'll pay you back every month. I promise. My mother put her hand on my arm. Just co-sign, honey. It's just a signature. So I signed. And for the last 2 years, she had not made a single payment. The $640 came directly out of my bank account every month. The auto withdrawal was the only way to protect my own credit. I did the math in my head. $400 a month for 3 years. $640 a month for 2 years? I had given them. I quickly opened the calculator. 400 x 36 plus 640 x 24. 14,400 plus 15,360 total 29,760. Had paid them almost $30,000. I looked at the frosting still cracked on my jeans. I thought about the trip to Florida they took last month. The pictures were all over Facebook. Brittany and Tyler on the beach. My mother sipping a drink. They work hard, my mom had said at the party. They deserve it. I paid for that trip. I paid for Brittany's new floral dress. I paid for the very party where they laughed at me. I paid for the privilege of being humiliated. I had always called it love. I called it helping. I called it being the responsible one. I was wrong. It wasn't love. It was a leash. As long as I was tied to them with money, I had to come back. I had to answer their calls. I had to listen to their jokes. I had to take their abuse. The co-signature wasn't just a signature. It was a chain. They didn't just laugh at me. They laughed at the fool who was paying for their lives. The cold, quiet anger in my chest became very sharp. They wanted to sever all contact. Okay. I opened my email. I started a new message. I typed in 3 addresses. Mom, Dad. Brittany, the subject line was financials. I didn't write. Dear Mom, I didn't write. I can't believe you did this. I didn't mention the cake. I didn't mention the text. I wrote 5 words. Removing my name from all loans tomorrow. I stared at the sentence. It was clean. It was simple. It was not emotional. It was a fact. My hand was shaking, a little as I moved the mouse to the send. Button. We've chosen to sever all. Contact. Stay away forever. The red heart. I clicked the button. The email was gone. I closed my laptop. The click of the lid felt loud in the quiet room. I stood up. I walked to the window. The rain was washing the city clean. I put my hand on the cold glass. I took a deep breath. For the first time in my life, it felt like my own. I was not their daughter. I was not their sister. I was not their bank. I was just Rachel, and I was free. I actually slept. I thought I would be up all night staring at the ceiling, but I slept like a stone. It was the deep, dreamless sleep of a person who has finally put down a heavy, heavy bag. When I woke up, the sun was trying to break through the gray Seattle clouds. My apartment was filled with a soft, calm light. Then I saw my phone. It was on the nightstand, vibrating. The screen was a solid wall of notifications. It had been buzzing all morning. Missed call, Mom, 14. Missed call, Dad, 6. Missed call, Brittany, 11. Missed call, unknown number, 3, voicemail, 9. Text message, Mom, 23. I picked it up. I didn't unlock it. I just looked at the text previews on the lock screen. Ma, what does that email mean? Mom, you can't do that. Mom, Rachel, call me this instant. Mom, you are ruining this family. Brittany, you bitch. You are trying to ruin my life. Dad, Rachel, please call your mother. She is upset. I looked for one word. I looked for the word sorry. I looked for we. Or sorry about the cake. I looked for I am sorry for what I said. I looked for we didn't mean to cut you off. That word was not there. They were not sorry they hurt me. They were just angry that I was cutting off the money. The unknown numbers were probably their friends, or maybe even the bank, though it was too early for that. They were trying to scare me. I put the phone back down on the nightstand. I put it on Do Not Disturb. The buzzing stopped. The silence was wonderful. I took a shower. I washed the party off me. I let the hot water run down my back. I scrubbed my skin until it was red. I felt like I was washing away years of their voices. I got dressed. I put on a good blouse and a pair of dark slacks. I put on the blazer I wear to big meetings at work. I felt like I was putting on armor. I made coffee. I drank it slowly, standing by my window, watching the city wake up. I grabbed my purse. I had a large manila folder inside. I had been collecting documents for months, not even knowing why. I just had a feeling. Inside the folder were emails from my mother about the mortgage. Your father's check is late again, Rachel. We need your $400 by tomorrow. Inside were bank statements showing the $640 SUV payment coming out of my account every month for 2 years. And I had printed out the text message exchange from when my mother asked me to just help sign for the house. I had texted her, "Are you sure this is just temporary?" Her reply was saved. "The house is ours, Rachel. You just helped sign. Don't worry about it." It wasn't a promise of temporary help. It was a statement of ownership. My signature, their house. I had everything I needed. I left my apartment and walked to my car. I drove to Green First Bank. It was a small, local bank. The branch manager, Mr. Reynolds, had helped me set up my first checking account when I moved to Seattle. His office was quiet. He had a fake plant in the corner and pictures of his kids on his desk. He was a kind man in his 50s, with gray hair and a calm smile. "Rachel," he said, shaking my hand. "It's good to see you. What can I do for you?" "I need to be removed as a co-signer from 2 loans, I said. My voice didn't shake. I was proud of that. He nodded. "Okay, that can be a very tricky process. Usually the primary borrower has to agree, or you have to refinance." "I don't think they will agree," I said. I opened my folder. I laid the papers on his desk. The emails, the bank statements, the printed text messages. I told him everything. I told him about the party. I told him about the cake. I told him about the text message from last night. "We've chosen to sever all contact." He listened. He didn't interrupt. He just nodded, his face serious. He read the messages from my mother. He looked at the bank statements. When I was finished, he was quiet for a full minute. He folded his hands on his desk. "Rachel," he said, and his voice was gentle but firm. "You are not the first person to be taken advantage of under the word family, and you won't be the last." He picked up my mother's text. "The house is ours. You just helped sign." He nodded. "This is what we call financial misrepresentation. They told you one thing to get your signature with the intent of doing another. Can you help me?" I asked. "Everything we need is right here," he said. He picked up the phone. "We are not going to ask their permission." He made 2 calls. He spoke in a language I didn't understand. Release of liability. Documented financial abuse. Misrepresentation at signing. He typed on his computer. He printed out 2 forms. "This one is for the mortgage," he said, "and this one is for the auto loan. We are filing an immediate liability dispute. Based on your documentation, the bank will release you from these debts. It will then be their responsibility to refinance or forfeit the assets." "You mean they will have to pay for it themselves?" "Yes," he said. Starting today, I signed my name. My hand was steady. Mr. Reynolds took the papers. He picked up a large, heavy rubber stamp. He pressed it onto an ink pad, then onto the first page. Thud. He did it again on the second page. Thud. The sound was soft, but it was the most final sound I had ever heard. It was the sound of a lock clicking open. It was the sound of chains breaking. I let out a breath I felt like I had been holding for 3 years. "You did the right thing, Rachel," Mr. Reynolds said, gathering the papers. "Sometimes protecting yourself is the only way to teach other people respect. Or, at the very least, it's the only way to protect yourself from their lack of it." I stood up. "Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Thank you. You take care of yourself," he said, smiling at me. I walked out of the bank. The Seattle wind was cold. It bit at my face. But my chest felt light. It was an ache, but it was a good ache. It was the feeling of a weight so big I didn't even know I was carrying it, suddenly being gone. I got to my car. My phone was in the cup holder. The screen was black. I picked it up, turned Do Not Disturb off, and waited. It took 10 seconds. The phone lit up. It started to buzz and shake so hard against the plastic that it sounded like an angry bee. Mom, Brittany, Dad, Mom. They knew. The bank had already called them. I watched it vibrate. I watched my mother's name flash on the screen, over and over. The old me would have answered. The old me would have felt guilty. The new me just watched it ring and ring until it finally went to voicemail. The wind was blowing. But inside my car, it was perfectly, wonderfully quiet. I sat in my car in the bank's parking lot. My phone was still vibrating in the cup holder. It sounded like a trapped animal. I watched my mother's name flash on the screen. Mom. Then it stopped. A second later, a new call. Brittany. She rang once, twice, 3 times. Then hung up a second later, Dad. He let it ring. He let it ring 12 times before it went to voicemail. He was the patient one. The one who would wait you out, I just watched. I didn't feel panic. I didn't feel guilt. I just felt distant. It was like watching a movie of someone else's life. They were not calling to apologize. I knew that. They were not calling to say, "Rachel, we are so sorry. We were cruel. Please come back." They were calling because the bank had called them. The bank had told them that the free ride was over. The bank had told them that the woman they threw away was the same woman who was holding up their roof and paying for their gas. Thought about the $29,160. I thought about all the things I could have done with that money. I could have a real savings account. I could have taken a vacation. I could have bought a new sofa. But I had sent it all to them. I sent it to Idaho, month after month. I sent it to people who laughed at my graduation cake. The phone lit up again. Mom. This time, I picked up the phone. But I didn't press the green button. I pressed the red button. I declined the call. It was the first time in my life I had ever done that. It felt strange. It felt powerful. She immediately called back. I declined it again and again. On the 4th try, she stopped. A minute later, a text message. Mom. You answer this phone right now. You have ruined us. Another text. Mom. The bank just called. What did you do? Another. Brittany. They are going to take my car. My car. Tyler needs that car. You are a selfish, jealous bitch. Another Brittany. I hope you are happy. You finally got what you wanted. You ruined my life. I read the words. Jealous. Selfish. They still didn't see it. They really, truly did not see what they had done. In their world, I was the one who was wrong. I was the one who had betrayed them. I started my car. The engine was a quiet hum. I drove out of the parking lot. I drove through the normal midday Seattle traffic. People were going to get lunch. They were walking their dogs. The world was just living its life. My world was exploding, but it was exploding in silence on a little glass screen. When I got back to my apartment, I made a cup of tea. I sat on my sofa. I looked at my phone. 9 new voicemails. I took a sip of tea. It was hot. I breathed in the steam. Okay, I was ready. I pressed the first voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice was not calm. It was a high, thin scream. Rachel! Rachel, you pick up the phone. You call me back this second. The bank called your father. They said you filed some abuse paper? What did you tell them? What lies did you tell them? You have ruined our credit. You have ruined everything. After everything we have done for you. We gave you a life. The voicemail cut off. 30 seconds of pure rage. I felt nothing. I just pressed delete. The second voicemail. Brittany. Her voice was low and full of poison. So this is your plan. This is how you get back at me. Because I'm prettier. Because Mom loves me more. You were always jealous. Always. And now you've done it. They're going to take my SUV. How am I supposed to get Tyler to soccer? How am I supposed to live? You think you're so much better than us with your stupid degree and your stupid little apartment? You are nothing. You are a cold, empty nothing. I hate you. I hate you. I pressed delete. The third voicemail. My father. His voice was the one that almost hurt. It was quiet. He sounded tired. Rachel, honey, it's Dad. Listen, your mother she's very upset. And Brittany is too. I think you've made a big mistake. You've made your point, okay? You're angry, we get it. But you can't do this. This is our house, Rachel. You're going to make us homeless. Is that what you want? Just call the bank back. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Then call us. We can talk about this. This is not how a family acts. This is not how a family acts. I stared at the phone. I thought about the cake on the ground. I thought about my mother laughing. I thought about Brittany's red heart. You're right, Dad. I whispered to the phone. This is not how a family acts. He was the worst of them. He was the quiet enabler. He was the one who watched it all happen, his whole life, and said nothing. His silence was the soil that let all of this poison grow. I deleted his message. The other 6 voicemails were just them screaming my name. Or crying. Fake angry tears. I opened the family group chat. The last message was still my mother's. We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away forever. And Brittany's red heart. All of their new messages were furious. You'll regret this. You are dead to me. You have no idea what you just started. I looked at all of it. The calls. The voicemails. The texts. The threats. I typed one calm line. I sent it to the group chat. I just stopped paying for people who laughed when my cake hit the floor. I hit send. Then I set the phone down on the table. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full. It was the sound of a door being locked. It was the sound of a storm finally ending. I finished my tea. I opened my laptop. I went to my phone carrier's website. I found the section for blocked numbers. I typed in my mother's number. Block. I typed in my father's number. Block. I typed in my sister's number. Block. My phone was quiet. It was no longer vibrating. It was just a black, silent screen. It was the first real peace I had felt in 28 years. For 3 days, there was silence. It was a strange, new kind of silence. It wasn't just quiet. It was an absence of drama, of anxiety, of waiting for the next text message that would make my stomach drop. I went to work. My job is at a small tech company called Green Pulse Tech. We make software for renewable energy. I'm a project manager. I'm good at my job. I'm organized. I like seeing a plan come together. At work, no one laughed at me. No one called me too sensitive. I had lunch with my friend Megan. She's a designer at my company. She has bright red hair and a laugh that is always kind. You seem different, she said, over salads. Good, different, lighter. I hadn't told her everything. I just said, I'm setting some boundaries with my family. Good for you, she said, and she meant it. Boundaries are hard, especially with family. Let me know if you want to come over and watch bad movies this weekend. I smiled. I'd like that. I was building a new life, a quiet life. On the third night, I was home. It was about 7 p.m. It was dark and raining outside. I was in my pajamas, reading a book on my sofa. My apartment was warm. Then I heard it. Boom, boom, boom. It was not a knock. It was pounding. Someone was hitting my door with their fists. My heart jumped into my throat. My whole body went cold. I knew instantly who it was. Boom, boom, boom. Rachel, open this door! We know you're in there! My mother's voice. It wasn't my apartment building. It was echoing up the stairwell. It was sharp and furious. I didn't move. I just sat on my sofa, frozen. Boom, boom, boom. Rachel Carter, you open this door right now. Then another voice. Brittany. Get out here, you coward! You think you can just hide? They were here. They had flown from Idaho to Seattle. They had found my building. I live in a secured building. You need a key, or you need to be buzzed in. They must have followed someone in. My hands were shaking. I put my book down. I slowly stood up. I walked to the wall by my door. I have a small video intercom. I pressed the view button. The small black and white screen lit up. I saw them. My mother, Elaine, and my sister, Brittany. They looked awful. Their faces were red and tight with anger. Their hair was wet from the rain. They looked like two drowned, furious animals. Rachel! My mother's voice was so loud I could hear it through the door and through the intercom. You open this door or I will break it down. You ruined everything, Brittany shouted. She was crying, but they were angry tears. The bank froze our accounts. They froze my accounts. I can't buy groceries. All because of you. My hand went to the doorknob. The old me, the old Rachel, wanted to open it. She wanted to make the yelling stop. She wanted to say, I'm sorry, let's fix it. The guilt was a heavy, physical thing. It was choking me. They are my family. They are in the rain. They can't buy groceries. I put my hand on the metal knob. It was cold. Then I remembered. I remembered the cake on the ground. I remembered the laughter. I remembered eat it off the ground. They weren't here because they missed me. They weren't here to say sorry. They were here because the money had stopped. I pulled my hand back from the doorknob. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. I looked at their faces on the little screen. They were my family, but they were also the people who hurt me the most. My home was my safe place. I had to protect it. I pulled my cell phone from my pocket. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. I opened the keypad. I whispered into my phone. Seattle Police Department. What is your emergency? My voice was a raw whisper. Hello, my name is Rachel Carter. There are two individuals outside my apartment door. They are pounding on it and yelling. They are refusing to leave. Are they armed, ma'am? I don't know. I don't think so. But they are screaming. I am scared. Do you know them? I closed my eyes. This was the moment. Yes, I whispered. They're my family. But today, they're trespassing. We are sending an officer, Ms. Carter. Stay on the line. Do not open the door. Lock your deadbolt. I was already locked. I just stood there, breathing, listening to the 911 operator on one phone and the screaming from my mother on the other side of the door. Minutes passed. It felt like hours. Then, through the intercom, I heard a new voice. A man's voice. Calm, firm. Ma'am, you need to step away from the door. I looked at the video screen. A police officer was standing there. He was tall. He was standing between them and my door. She's my daughter. My mother shrieked at him. We are here to see our daughter. Ma'am, I've been told she doesn't want to see you. You are on private property, and you are causing a disturbance. If she has asked you to leave, you need to leave. You can't make us, Brittany shouted. This is a family matter. This is a trespassing matter, the officer said, his voice even. You can leave on your own, or you can be escorted out. It's your choice. I watched my mother's face on the screen. It was a mask of pure bitter humiliation. She looked at the officer. She looked at my closed door. She knew she had lost. Fine, she hissed. I watched them turn. The officer followed them as they walked down the hall. They left. They left, under the cold, quiet watch of a police officer. I stayed by the door for a long time. My legs were shaking so hard I had to sit down on the floor. I was crying, but not from sadness. It was from release. It was the terror leaving my body. I had done it. I had held the line. I opened the video recorder on my intercom. It had saved the last 5 minutes. I saved the recording. I labeled it, Boundaries, April 17th, 2025. I had a feeling I might need it again. The next morning, I woke up feeling hungover. I hadn't slept well. I kept hearing the sound of fists on my door. But I also felt clear. The air in my apartment felt different. It felt truly, completely mine. I made coffee, my hands still a little shaky. I was getting ready for work. I just wanted a normal day. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Megan. Megan, hey, I don't want to upset you, but I think you need to see this. Some old neighbor from Idaho just shared it. I'm so sorry. Below the text was a screenshot of a Facebook post. It was from my mother. She had posted a picture of herself. It was an old picture, one from a family dinner where she was smiling, looking like the perfect mother. The post was long. It is with the heaviest heart, it began, that I have to write this. Sometimes the child you trust the most, the one you give everything to, betrays you in the worst way. Our daughter Rachel has decided to ruin us. Out of spite and jealousy of her sister, she has told terrible lies to the bank and has ruined her parents' credit. I had to sit down. My coffee was still in my hand, but I wasn't drinking it. We are heartbroken, the post continued. Your father and I may lose our home. Brittany may lose her car. The only way she has to get our sweet grandson Tyler to his doctor's appointments. We have always loved Rachel, even when she was difficult or cold. We paid for her college. We supported her move to Seattle. And this is how she repays us, by trying to make her family homeless. We are posting this to let our friends and family know the truth. Please pray for us. And please pray for Rachel that she learns what gratitude and family really mean. I scrolled down. Dozens of comments. An old neighbor. Elaine, I am so sorry. I always knew she was a thankless child. So stuck up. A distant aunt. This is horrible. Poor Elaine and Robert. You gave her everything. One of Mom's friends. Brittany is a wonderful mother. Rachel should be ashamed of herself. Some people never learn gratitude. Comment after comment. Ungrateful. Selfish. Spoiled. Poor Elaine. I felt the blood rush to my face. It was a hot, sick feeling. Shame. My first instinct was to fight. I wanted to comment. I wanted to post my bank statements. I wanted to write, "You didn't pay for my college. I have $60,000 in student loans. I paid for your house. I paid for her car." I wanted to post the audio of Brittany's voicemail. I wanted to post the picture of the cake on the ground. My fingers were trembling over my phone. I was ready to type, ready to defend myself, and then I stopped. Who was I trying to convince? These people? These old neighbors and distant relatives who had watched me grow up? They had all been at the parties. They had all seen how I was treated. They saw me clearing the plates while Brittany was treated like a queen. They heard the jokes, and they said nothing. They were part of the same system. They were my mother's audience. This post wasn't for me. It was a performance for them. My mother was playing the victim, and she needed a villain. I was the villain. The old me would have been destroyed by this. The old me would have spent days, weeks trying to fix it, trying to win back the approval of people who never really liked me. The new me just felt tired. I put my phone down. The truth doesn't need shouting. It just needs time. I took a deep breath. I finished my coffee. I opened my laptop. I did not go to Facebook. I opened my work email. I sent one short email to my team and my boss, Lauren Shaw. Subject, personal matter. Hi team, a private family issue of mine has unfortunately become public. You may see some rumors about me on social media. I am not going to comment on them, but I wanted you to be aware in case you see it. I've learned that boundaries often upset the people who once benefited from my silence. My focus is, as always, on my work here. Thank you for understanding. Best, Rachel. I hit send. It wasn't a defense. It wasn't an explanation. It was a boundary. I went to work. I was nervous. I walked into the office, feeling like everyone was staring at me, like they had all seen the post. No one said a word. My team had our morning meeting. We talked about a software update. My boss, Lauren, asked my opinion on a new timeline. My friend Aaron, one of the engineers, made a bad joke about coffee. It was just normal. Later that day, I got an email back from my boss. It was just one line. Rachel, thank you for the note. Your professionalism is appreciated. Let me know if you need anything. That was it. I realized, sitting at my desk, that my life in Seattle was real. My job was real. My friends were real. My family's drama was a story they were telling to an audience I had already left. I closed my laptop at the end of the day. The truth didn't need me to fight for it. I was done living for their approval. A few days later, the Facebook post vanished. Megan texted me, "Hey, the post is gone. Looks like the trash took itself out." I smiled. I checked. She was right. It was just gone. I wondered why. Maybe someone who knew the truth had called my mother out. Maybe a relative with a conscience. Maybe my father, in a rare moment of courage, told her to stop. Or maybe, and this felt more likely, the consequences had become real. Maybe the bank had officially started the foreclosure process on the house. Maybe they had repossessed Brittany's giant SUV. When the story changed from "Rachel is mean" to "I am actually losing my house," the public sympathy probably dried up. It's easy to be a victim online. It's harder when the tow truck is in your driveway. I realized something. It didn't matter. It didn't matter why she took it down. The only thing that mattered was the silence. The noise had stopped. The real turning point came a week later. A letter arrived. It was in a thick, cream-colored envelope. The return address was Green First Bank. My heart did a familiar cold flip. Fear. What now? I thought. Did it not work? Are they suing me? Did Mr. Reynolds make a mistake? My hands were not steady as I opened the envelope. It was one sheet of heavy official paper. It was not a lawsuit. It was not a summons. It was a letter. Dear Miss Rachel Carter, this letter is to confirm that as of May 1st, 2025, you have been fully and legally released from all financial liabilities concerning the joint mortgage, account TUR, and the vehicle loan, account TURs, under the names of Elaine and Robert Carter, and Brittany Carter, respectively. Our investigation, based on the documents you provided, confirmed a release of liability. You are no longer considered a co-signer or responsible party for these debts. We wish you the best in your financial future. Sincerely, Mr. Reynolds, Branch Manager, Green First Bank. I read it once. I sat down on the floor in my entryway. I read it again. Fully and legally released. No longer responsible. I ran my hand across the paper. It was real. It was stamped. The seal was embossed. It shimmered under the light. It was done. It wasn't just me feeling free. It wasn't just me blocking their numbers. This was a piece of paper from the world, from the system that said, "You are free." I put the letter on my kitchen counter. I stared at it. It felt like peace. It felt like the final heavy chain had just turned to dust. That night, I did something I hadn't done in 3 years. I opened my budget spreadsheet. I looked at the 2 lines. Parents' mortgage assist, $400 Brittany's SUV. $640 total. $1,040 a month. My hand was on the mouse. I clicked the first line. I hit the delete key. It vanished. I clicked the second line. I hit the delete key. It was gone. The total at the bottom of my spreadsheet suddenly had an extra $140 in it. I stared at that number. That was my money. For the first time, it was all mine. I opened a new line in my budget. I titled it, My Future. I put the $1,040 into it. The old me would have felt guilty. The old me would have worried. Are they okay? Are they homeless? The new me just felt quiet. I had given them $30,000. I had given them my childhood. I had given them my self-respect. I had nothing left to give them, and I had nothing left to feel guilty about. My phone buzzed. It was my friend Aaron. "Hey," I said, answering it. My voice sounded normal. "Hey, Rach. Me and Megan are ordering pizza and watching a terrible sci-fi movie. Want to come over?" I looked at the letter on my counter. I looked at the new, clean budget on my screen. "Yeah," I said. "I'd love to. I'll bring dessert." I hung up. I put on my shoes. I grabbed my keys. I walked out of my apartment into the cool Seattle night, and I didn't look back. Weeks passed. Then months. The noise died down completely. No more blocked calls. No more unknown numbers. No more flying monkeys or Facebook posts. Just silence. The silence was strange at first. It felt empty. I had spent my whole life on high alert, waiting for the next crisis. waiting for my mother's disapproval or my sister's drama. Without that noise, I had to learn who I was. I focused on work. I focused on my small, good life. I started leading a new project at Green Pulse Tech. It was complicated and difficult, and I loved it. One afternoon, my CEO, Lauren Shaw, stopped me in the hall. She is a tall, smart woman who never wastes words. "Rachel," she said, smiling faintly, "your team just finished the new build 2 days early." "We have a good team," I said. "You're a good leader," she replied. "You lead with steadiness. People trust that. It's a rare skill. Keep it up." I just stared at her. Steadiness. My whole life, my family had called my steadiness boring. They called my quiet nature cold. They called my responsibility bragging. Here, in my real life, it was a skill. It was my greatest strength. It was the first time I had ever been praised for who I was, not for what I could do for someone. I built a new family. My friends, Megan and Aaron, became my real family. We had Thanksgiving at Aaron's apartment. We cooked a turkey that was too dry, and we laughed until we cried. There was no drama. No one insulted anyone. No one's son threw the pumpkin pie on the floor. We had Christmas at Megan's. We drank wine and exchanged small, thoughtful gifts. I slowly filled my life, not with surviving, but with living. I went hiking. I read books. I saved my money. That $40 a month went into my future account. After a year, I had over $12,000. It was my safety. It was my freedom. I was happy. It wasn't a loud happiness. It was a quiet, steady happiness. Then, a year after I had walked out of that bank, my phone buzzed. It was a text from a number I didn't recognize, but I knew who it was. "I'm sorry for everything." Just 6 words. No excuses. No explanations. It didn't say, "I'm sorry, but..." It didn't say, "Mom made me..." It was just, "I'm sorry for everything." I knew it was from Brittany. I sat on my sofa, looking at the message. The same sofa where I had read my mother's post. The same room where I had heard them pounding on my door. I thought about answering. What would I even say? "Thank you. I forgive you? It's too late?" I wondered why she was texting me now. Maybe she was in therapy. Maybe she had grown up, or maybe her life was hard. Maybe she had lost the house. Maybe she was driving a 10-year-old car. Maybe she needed money. Maybe this was the first step to asking me for money again. The old me would have been torn. The old me would have seen this as an opening, a chance to finally fix my family. The new me just felt a faint, sad smile. I smiled faintly and set the phone down. I realized that forgiveness is not what I thought it was. Forgiveness, I realized, doesn't always mean opening the door again. It doesn't mean you have to let them back in. It doesn't mean you have to forget what happened. Sometimes forgiveness is just letting it go. It's not for them. It's for you. It's the final act of unhooking them from your heart. Sometimes forgiveness is locking the door, gently, and walking away in peace. I picked up my phone again. I didn't text back. I just deleted the message. Outside my window, Lake Union shimmered. The sun was setting behind the Olympic Mountains. The sky was a mix of orange and purple. It was beautiful. I looked at my reflection in the glass. I saw a woman who was quiet, a woman who was steady, a woman who was finally safe. I whispered to my reflection, "Welcome home, Rachel."